your day the right way. It's Marv and Rauh in the morning.
How many times are we going to wake up in the morning and Anthony Davis is hurt? How many times are we going to wake up in the morning and we have playoffs to talk about? I mean, there's a lot of things to discuss right here on Wake Up with Marv and Rauh in the morning. Lots of good stuff to discuss today. And I think there's some college basketball. I'm sure there's a lot of things you want to get off your chest after last night's amazing basketball game. If you're from the state of Kansas, maybe. And of course, college football might be changing some big rules when it comes to the NFL, the red shirt, if you will. And that's it's wild. It's wild. And you know what else is coming? You know what else is coming around the corner?
What's
golf?
That?
Golf, buddy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Are you telling me we're going to be talking some golf today?
I'm ready to talk some golf vibes. That's what I'm ready to do on this one. Welcome on into Marv and Rauh in the morning, bringing you daily sports content every weekday, Monday through Friday, bonus YouTube content on the weekends and when we feel like it as well. All that good stuff. You can hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification as well, and we are bringing you a bunch of content, and the community is growing every single day. Really appreciate you stopping by and listening right here on Marv and Rauh in the morning. Let's get started. Got a fun episode for you today. Nick, this is a fun one, and honestly, we talked about this a little bit yesterday with the Steelers falling on Monday Night Football to end the playoffs. Mike Tomlin steps down after 19 seasons, officially steps down. I continue on to say the words step down as the word because it's important. He was not fired. He did not retire. He stepped down, meaning the Steelers will still hold his coaching rights, meaning that if he decides to coach somewhere else, he'll have to be traded, kind of like what the Sean Payton's kind of scenario was a while ago between the Saints and the Broncos. But it sounds like he's going to be maybe taking a year off, maybe go try out TV for a little bit. Jimmy Johnson wasn't replaced on Fox Sunday. If he seems like the perfect fit for that one. I don't know if he goes and fills Matt Ryan's shoes on NFL Today, that you'd have Cowher and Tomlin on the same show. That'd be funny. But overall, Mike Tomlin stepping away after 19 years. The Steelers are going to be looking for their fourth coach since the Beatles broke up. How about that? 1969.
That is amazing. That's a great pull from that year. It is crazy to think that Tomlin's not going to be the head coach out in Pittsburgh anymore. I mean, like you said, that's just kind of what Pittsburgh has been known for, is keeping these coaches around forever. I don't remember the Steelers with any other head coach. And the fact that it happened in the same year as John Harbaugh, too, just has this weird kind of vibe to it. The AFC North is going to feel very, very different next year. I'm excited to see, if Tomlin does end up in TV or media or whatever you want to call it, where he ends up and what he kind of specializes in, or if there is anything in particular. But he's given us some unbelievable media moments over the last few years. I mean, if you go to basically any comment section on just about any video on the entire internet, no matter what it's about, you have about a 50% chance of finding a Mike Tomlin gif in there. I mean, the guy just is so versatile. Whatever the case is, walking away from the podium looking like, really? Or is that what we're doing here? Like, he's so comedic. So I think him being on TV is absolutely the right play. And if he steps back into coaching, he'll do great there as well. But very excited about what the future of Mike Tomlin looks like. The Steelers, on the other hand, I don't know if I have the same amount of optimism.
Yeah, I want to get to that Steelers roster and the outlook and the future of them, but did you expect heading into this season, if I would have told you that the AFC North at the end of the year will lose 3 of its coaches, would you guess that the only one remaining was the Bengals, Zach Taylor? Would that be the one that you guessed? Because I would not.
That would have been the one probably what I would have started with. Maybe Stefanski, to be honest. He would have been 1A, 1B, but yeah, it would have absolutely been who didn't get fired between Tomlin and Harbaugh. Like that's the only way that I think it makes sense, because Taylor has been, it feels like, on the hot seat for the last 3 or 4 years, and he's the only one remaining. It's actually crazy.
Yeah, to me, it's shocking for sure, and I wonder how long that'll last. And it's crazy to know that he's the highest tenured coach in the AFC North now. Now that Tomlin and Harbaugh are out of it, Andy Reid sits as the highest tenured coach. Second place, Sean McDermott for the Bills and Sean McVay of the Rams, and they're separated by only 1 day. So basically, they're tied for second when it comes to most tenured coaches in the NFL. As for those Steelers, talking about them, what direction do they go in now? Because it's an interesting direction. It's the brand new team. Basically, you're going to have to replace your quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, this is more likely than not that he's not returning, that he's retiring, especially with this Mike Tomlin news.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're not going to bring in a young coach to try and rebuild this team and be like, oh, by the way, there's a quarterback double your age head coach, and we're going to keep him in. Like, he's probably done, right? Like, that's the case. And if he does return to football, it's probably not with the Steelers. So I'm guessing Aaron Rodgers is done. So what is the direction that Pittsburgh takes? They have a decent young core on the defensive side. Obviously, TJ Watt getting a little older. Cam Hayward's probably on his way out the door as well. There's a lot of question marks for Pittsburgh. I guess the first thing I have to ask is the quarterback question. Like Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, those are your quarterbacks on the roster right now. Is the future quarterback of this team on the roster?
Yeah, that's the first place you got to start, I think, is the most important position in football, the quarterback. And I think if you're the Steelers here, you end up going with somebody in this draft potentially, or basically taking a tank year and using one of these guys on the roster right now as a Band-Aid and not tanking necessarily, but not spending a ton of money to win this year and then ending up with some solid draft picks next season. Maybe you trade a few picks or a few players for some capital in next year's draft, whatever it is. I think you go through the draft. Honestly, I think there are some really talented players. And I don't know if Arch will be like the answer if you go down to Arch, but I think you have to go through the draft. If you're Pittsburgh, we laid it out, I believe it was yesterday, all of the quarterbacks that could take over for Aaron Rodgers that are currently in the league. And the list just isn't there. And I would almost argue too that the Steelers aren't in a position to go out and spend $85 million on a quarterback and then be in like, they're just not a quarterback away is how I view it. So I think if you're Pittsburgh, you have to be okay with taking a few years here. Now, of course, quick turnarounds happen. Sometimes it's like, oh, this was supposed to be a rebuild year for them, and they ended up just outperforming expectations. That's absolutely something that happens. But I think that the reasonable trajectory is take a year. You're probably not going to get anywhere. Build up through the draft this year, next year, get a few young core pieces. Like you said, they already have some on roster, and then go from there. And they can be a problem in like 2028, 2029 is how I view it.
A few years is not something that Pittsburgh fans are used to. Their last losing season, 2003, they finished 6-10. And they've been nowhere near the number 1 overall pick. They've been nowhere near tanking in more than 3 decades. And this is a team that has a lot of respect. This is a team that has a lot of pedigree, a lot of fandom. The fact that they didn't even play Renegade during the playoff game was something to talk about. If they start losing and they become one of the worst teams in football, it makes you wonder what type of fandom comes out with these Pittsburgh Steelers. When you talk about say it's going to take them a few years, I don't know if they have it in them to be able to say, you know what, let's rebuild for a few years and get it back. Is it the right idea? Yes. In the long term, is it the right answer? Yes. But do they have that in them? Again, we're talking 23 years since their last losing season between Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin, who Mike Tomlin was 19 seasons, never a losing season. You're losing a coach who is stepping away, might I add, not retiring, not fired.
Which is good for Steelers fans.
Good for the Steelers. If Tomlin decides to come back to coaching, that will not probably impact them until next year's draft in 2027. And let's keep this real as well. This isn't a first overall pick that'll be traded for Mike Tomlin, right? This is probably like a mid-round pick, 3rd or 4th round kind of thing. This is Mike Tomlin deciding he wants to go, and 3rd and 4th might be,
But hey,
realistic.
More than you
feel something. Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick, right? I mean, like there's still quarterbacks that you can get, or there's still decent players you can get on there. But like, I saw something on social media that was like aggregated by like the DraftKings Twitter page, and it was somebody else saying like, let's just make the trade to the Raiders and trade Tomlin to the Raiders for the 1st overall pick and hire Kirk Cignetti and then draft Mendoza, and then Steelers are fixed. Would the Steelers be fixed? Maybe, but like you're not trading Tomlin for the number 1 overall pick. Like that's just bizarre. Right. Let's get that out of the way now. Overall, dude, this is the first potential season in 2026. They'll have a losing year if they decide to go this route. Will that change? Will that happen in 2026? Will they have a losing year for the first time since 2003?
I can't answer whether or not it'll happen, but I think the Steelers fans have to be okay with that. I mean, looking at this is the comparison I drew yesterday, and I'm going to stick by it because I think that it's actually a really valid one. The 49ers versus the Steelers. And I'm not saying that they're similar. I'm actually saying they're quite different. Since Kyle Shanahan took over with the 49ers in like 2017 here, the 49ers went 6-10 negative, 4-12 negative, 13-3, and they lost in the Super Bowl. Then 6-10 negative. Then they were 10-7, 13-4, 12-5, in which they lost the conference championship, lost the Super Bowl. Then they went to 6-11 negative, and this year 12-5, and we'll talk about them just upcoming here in a few segments. That's very up and down. That is all over the place. You're in the Super Bowl, then you finish last in the division, and then you're in the conference championship back-to-back seasons. You go to the Super Bowl, and then you finish last in the division. You're up and down like this. For Steelers fans, I imagine some of them understand being stuck at pick 15 year after year after year after year just really doesn't get you anywhere. It might for some, if you end up with a crazy pick there, somebody who really slides or drastically outperforms their expectations. But for the most part, picking the middle of the pack every single year gets you just that middle of the pack finishes. And so, the 49ers have more playoff wins than the Steelers do. And that's why I'd bring up this comparison or Mike Tomlin and Kyle Shanahan's a comparison. Mike Tomlin has less playoff wins than Kyle Shanahan does. And Kyle Shanahan's only been doing this for 7 years or 8 years now. So just worth keeping in mind. It's not the end of the world if you have a losing season. And I understand what you're saying, what your argument is. Like, this is not what Steelers fans are used to, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's time to get used to it. Maybe you have to understand that you can't literally win 15 games every single year. There have to be some years where you don't play very well. And guess what that leads to? Draft capital, draft at least position where you can move around, get some other value, or bring in a very valuable player. I just wanted to bring up the fact that I don't know whether or not they're going to be a winning team next year. I assume that they'll at least be in the mix because it's the AFC North. And like you mentioned, 3 new head coaches next season. But keep in mind, too, that I think losing is totally fine. I really don't think that that's something you have to be too stressed out about if you're a Steelers fan. It's going to suck, but it's okay.
Yeah, and speaking of being the 15th overall pick and you think being in the middle of the pack is worse, the Steelers, even though they're going to be mediocre, they lost in the wild card round. They lost their 7th straight playoff game. 21st overall pick is what they have in the NFL draft in April. So it's even worse than you expected. I think the best case scenario, like if I'm talking to you today on January 14th about the NFL draft, without any other changes happening to the Steelers, I'm trading away that pick. I'm almost doing what the Rams did for a while, trading away their first round picks. Maybe I'm not doing that every single year, but I'm trying to double up for next year because at pick 21, unless you believe Ty Simpson is the guy who can save your franchise, which as much as I respect Ty Simpson for not saying he's not going to take NIL, he wants to go to the NFL. I thought that was really cool. I don't know how much more of an improvement Ty Simpson is to Mason Rudolph or Will Howard currently, at least in the landscape of what the Steelers look like right this instant. Maybe Ty Simpson has more upside, but I don't know if that changes. Does that move the needle for you in year one? No. So maybe you focus on other pieces. You build depth in the second round moving forward. You get 2 first-round picks in 2027. You use those to trade up and get your quarterback of the future, and you get one Band-Aid. Maybe that's Mason Rudolph. Maybe that is Will Howard for 2026. And then in 2027, you go all out and you're ready to roll again. I think that is the right route. I'm just really curious to see if Pittsburgh actually takes that one.
To me, it feels like this is probably way off, but to me, it feels like you just got out of a long-term relationship. Even if the next best, the next girl you talk to is literally the best possible option, it just feels too fast to me. And I understand that might just be like a bad analogy, but it feels like if Pittsburgh just jumps into Ty Simpson here, even if he ends up being the next Tom Brady, it just feels like rushed and out of place. So I'm not saying that Ty Simpson isn't the guy, but maybe the Steelers need to have some alone time. Maybe they need to focus on themselves a little bit here and start to, kind of look internal. I don't know. It's not the best analogy, but you understand what I'm kind of getting at.
Since Roethlisberger's retired, they band-aided that quarterback position. That has been something that has happened over and over again since Roethlisberger's gone. What's one more year while they're making a huge transition with their franchise, and then go get your franchise guy.
Yeah.
What's one more year of that? I think Steelers fans can at least eat that one up. I think they can. I think they can swallow that.
I would think so. I mean, I don't know though. I don't know a lot of Steelers fans personally, so maybe not.
They're crazy. I'll tell you what. They're crazy. I love them. The Steeler fans that I know are crazy, and I love them. But man, some of them don't know what it feels like to lose, and that could be a bitter taste if a first year.
The question is this. Let me ask you this, because we keep asking this.
Yeah.
If the next head coach of the Steelers doesn't win, let's say he doesn't have a winning season in the first 3 years, are Steelers fans calling for his head? Like, is this a hot seat situation right away?
We've talked about the Steelers with having head coaches for a very long time. 3 coaches since 1969. You have to assume that if they see progression going in the right direction, whether that is 3 losing seasons in a row, that guy's going to have a long leash. I assume that whoever's hired by the Steelers is a younger coach. Both Bill Cowher, both Mike Tomlin, I believe, were 34 when they were hired. And then the NFL is only going younger. We're seeing certain coaches in their early 30s getting interviews. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they are going to make a hire, assuming that guy is going to be around for the next 15 seasons.
What if they snag Matt Campbell from Penn State? I don't think his buyout is too crazy. That would be the wildest twist of events.
He's too old for the Steelers. That's hilarious. He's closer now, but he's 46.
Right there.
I feel like he's 46 years old. I feel like he's at least 10 years too old for what they're trying to get. That's whatever.
So you're saying that effectively, I am more likely to be the next head coach of the Steelers than Matt Campbell.
Well, I mean,
because I'm younger. I'm younger than Matt
Age
Campbell,
is not
right?
the only thing I'm going after, but if you want to go that route, if that makes you feel better, if that helps you sleep at night, knowing that you are a prime candidate for the Steelers.
I know how to call a spread Y2 banana. All right. Like I can get out there and really analyze some offense. So I feel like at least put my name in the hat,
Well, just don't Google whatever you just said. I think you'll be okay. Hey, let's head into the NFL playoff talk. I know we're a couple of days away from the NFL playoffs.
Spider 2Y, that's what it is. I'm so close. Sorry.
Man.
Spider
you
2Y.
got me on the spread banana.
Maybe I'm not the next head coach of the Steelers.
Yeah, don't Google that. Some states it'll probably flag you and ask if you're 18.
Let's keep it moving, man. Let's keep it.
The NFL playoffs are here, and of course the divisional round is here as well. We got 8 teams left, 4 on each side, and we got 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sundays. Let's preview those Saturday games. Okay. Buffalo Bills, Denver Broncos. Look, I think Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, I think they have to play perfect to take down the AFC top seed Denver Broncos. I think they have to play absolutely perfect. Josh Allen has to be MVP-like form. He's got to play better than he did against Jacksonville, and he played great against Jacksonville. I think the defense has to step up. I think you got to get James Cook, the guy who won the rushing title, in play. Denver's defense is insane. And I think there's a lot of things that Denver's going to try and do in this one. There's a lot of people talking bad about Denver, myself included. I have not believed in Denver all season long, but I think the Bills, if they want to come out on top here after sneaking by a win in Jacksonville, if they want to continue the Super Bowl run, they want to continue the narrative, or for Josh Allen, if it's not now, then when, they have to be on their top game against the Broncos in Denver.
I agree. I think this is one of those where, the Broncos are the 1 seed and they're a very good team, but also the Bills, like they're solid, but they have to kind of stretch a little bit here is kind of how I'm seeing it. Josh Allen is a great quarterback, but how do the pieces around him kind of fit in here? It feels similar to the Broncos a little bit, with Bo Nix maybe not being the best quarterback of all time, but certainly fielding a very, very good team behind him. The way I look at this is, and we talked about this a little bit, kind of before the show, was this is Josh Allen's opportunity to have a legacy game. Not necessarily for the reasons of like he needs to go out and throw for 560 yards and 10 touchdowns, which I think he does need to play well. But this is an opportunity for him to define kind of his career. And in a year without a Mahomes, without a Lamar, like come in, beat the 1 seed on the road, and continue his quest for a Super Bowl. I think, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me, that if they lose this game, question marks about Josh Allen, not necessarily from inside the organization, but will be asked, right? Like, is this the guy that can win you a Super Bowl? Because up until this point, it's been, man, he's just like, it's like the Knicks and the Bulls or whatever. Like, I don't even know the lore there, but everyone runs into Michael Jordan and they just you can't beat Michael Jordan. It's understandable. If Josh Allen's running into Patrick Mahomes, like, okay, we get it. But if you're running into Bo Nix and you can't get it done, now we start to have questions. And so, yeah, you need a big game out of Josh Allen. But I also think like this is a career defining moment for Josh Allen as well. And I think he understands that.
Yeah, I mean, as much as people don't want to talk about saying that wins are quarterback stats, I think you're right in an essence. I think it depends if they do lose this game, if Buffalo does lose this game, how they lose the game, to whether to compare it to Josh Allen or not. If he does everything he has to do, I mean, if he tears it up and it's the defense's fault or something like that, then I'm sure there'll be some sort of narrative, but there'll be a lot more. Fans will actually understand it a little bit more. What's the biggest gripe that Josh Allen's had to deal with all season long? Maybe for the last couple of years since Diggs left, the fact that he doesn't have the right wide receivers, right? I would say that's probably his biggest gripe. That's going to be even worse on Saturday. Gabe Davis tore his ACL in the game in Jacksonville. Tyrell Shavers also tore his ACL on Saturday. Actually, the Shavers stat is insane. He played 22 snaps with a torn ACL in the game. And he played 22 of the team's 34 snaps in the second half, and he had a torn ACL already. That's insane. So shout out to him. He deserves he deserves the toughness hammer of the day for us. I mean, that's absolutely incredible. But now you're looking at the wide receiver room that's even more beat up. You're hopefully bringing back Curtis Samuel, who did have a big game against Denver in the wild card round last year. So that's something to keep in mind. But this is another thing in the road for Josh Allen when it comes to wide receivers. That's why I really think James Cook has to step up. Those tight ends have to step up. They have to find a way to beat and expose that Denver's defense, something that not many teams have done all season long, even if it's a close game. Denver's 11-2 in one-score games? I'm pretty sure that's what the record is. Wow, they still find a way to win football games. That's why they sat at home on Wild Card Weekend waiting for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, no, they have earned that one seed, as much as I don't love it as a Patriots fan. But what do you think here as far as Josh Allen goes? Do you think they rely on his legs a little bit more, allow him to scramble and get upfield, and kind of use the wide receivers that are out there as effectively decoys, kind of opening up some running lanes? Or do you think that I don't want to ask what he will do, because sometimes it feels like nobody knows what Josh Allen will do, not even Josh Allen. But do you think that that'll be kind of the part of the strategy of the Bills beating this Broncos defense?
I think they'll do anything they possibly can, personally. If that means running the football, yeah. Josh Allen has a couple injuries himself. The injury report for the Bills came out on Wednesday and Tuesday, I think it was actually. And okay. Josh Allen had 3 different injury designations on there. So, I mean, like, he's not 100% healthy either.
That's fair. Yeah.
So, but I don't think that's going to slow him down. I think he's going to find a way to do what it takes. I think Josh Allen's a fantastic quarterback. On the flip side, though, Bo Nix is having a great season. And it's been drowned out a little bit. People haven't paid attention to it as much because of how good this defense is. But he's almost thrown for 4,000 yards. He's got 25 touchdowns, just as many as Josh Allen threw. He has 11 interceptions compared to 10 of Josh Allen's. He has basically the same stats that the current MVP, the reigning MVP Josh Allen has, just one more extra interception, but about 300 more yards. Oh, and he brought his team to 14-3. They're 8-1 at home. They've only lost one time at home this year. This is the game where Bo Nix's only playoff game in the history of his career was last year's wild card beatdown from the Bills. This is a huge game for Bo Nix and the Broncos. To me, this could easily be a chip on their shoulder, saying they want revenge. But then on the flip side, you have to ask the question, how much rust does it take? We see it happen all the time with the college ball playoffs. You're off for a week. What's that mean for that one seed sitting around waiting for 1 week? Getting healthy is one thing, but that other team Buffalo just played a slobber knocker against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And no, I think they're ready to play.
I think that the rust versus rest argument is a lot weaker at the NFL level. I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
I agree.
But, in college, they end up sitting for like almost a month after their last game, especially with conference championship and then Army Navy and the whole thing works out interestingly. So I don't think it's as much of an argument of that as much as it is who has Denver played would maybe be the better argument. Have they played a Buffalo Bills caliber of team? Just quick perusing through their schedule here. Like they did beat Houston 18-15, but the 15 points from Houston completely checks out to me. They beat Kansas City twice, but what is that really worth this year? Honestly, Green Bay, that's a good win. I'll give them Green Bay. And they lost to Jacksonville. They lost to the Chargers, and they lost to Indy. So I'm not saying that Denver is a bunch of smoke here, but there is something to be said. And look, I get it. I'm a Patriots fan. The exact same thing is being said about the Patriots, but way, 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 way louder. So I completely get it. But I think that the Denver Broncos are in for maybe one of their toughest challenges of the season. I guess coming off the break might benefit them, but Bo Nix is really going to have a big game at home. I think playing this game at home is one of the biggest advantages that Denver has in this game. To be completely honest, their defense is really, really good, but getting to play at Mile High at home is a major advantage for the Broncos. So my initial lean, I think I'm going to go ahead and lean the Broncos here just because it feels like so much has to go right for the Bills. But if everything does go right, it's the Bills game all day long. It really does feel like there are a lot of things that have to happen.
I can't help but think of storybooks and NFL scripting. I can't help but think about this right now. The Buffalo Bills just beat the Jacksonville Jaguars in the wild card round. The Denver Broncos only lost one game at home this year against those Jacksonville Jaguars. Buffalo comes into town after beating that Jacksonville team, and then the Josh Allen run, I think, continues. That's where I'm leaning towards. I think Buffalo holds the upset, if it's even an upset, because if it depends where you look, really. This is a right down the middle game. I think ESPN Analytics has this one. They do 51.6% to Denver, 48.4 to Buffalo. I mean, that's right down the middle. It's a coin flip game, just like the one in Jacksonville Buffalo was. This isn't going to be an exciting game, and this is what we get to start off with, the divisional round of the playoffs. This could easily be the best game of the weekend, and it's happening at 4:30 on CBS. I mean, this could be the best game of the weekend, and you're getting it first. So make sure that you are ready to go. It should be a very fun one for sure. Injuries, I think, are going to be a huge concern when it comes to the wide receivers. When it comes to there's a couple from Denver's side that's coming back as well. There's talks about Dre Greenlaw returning. I know that Sean Payton made some funny comments in his press conference with the media, talking about Dre Greenlaw, how excited he is, how the media was talking about him running downhill, and Sean Payton couldn't control himself, had to definitely call out the media, but he did what he had to do. It's going to be interesting about who's returning, who's actually out. That's something you need to really pay attention to over the next couple of weeks. Ed Oliver could be returning for Buffalo. That would be huge. Curtis Samuel, we'll see if that has any type of impact for Josh Allen and his crew. I'm going to lean Buffalo gets the upset in this one and moves on to the AFC Championship round. That's what I'm going with my lean as well. I think they have to play perfect, and I think they do. I think they absolutely do in this one.
Yeah. Well, really quick, I'd love to throw in here. I saw Bo Nix. I saw a video of him having to sign some jerseys the other day, and that looked exhausting. It just did. I mean, you gotta write the inscriptions. You gotta sign here, sign there, whatever it is. I don't love doing a signature. I'm gonna be completely honest.
If you were the Steelers head coach, you'd probably have to do that. So maybe you should take yourself out of the hat. You should pull your name out.
Well, yeah. After that play call, I don't know if maybe that just immediately took me out. But I mean, keep that in mind. Maybe Bo Nix's writing arm is a little tired. I don't know. It just looked exhausting to me. So this is going to be a great game. That's essentially what I'm saying.
You want to know what might be inevitable? The San Francisco 49ers going to the NFC Championship, because Kyle Shanahan might be a loose word here. Might not be. It might be very strong. Kyle Shanahan takes the San Francisco 49ers to the NFC Championship game at the very least every time he takes this team to the playoffs. So if you hear this note and you're a Seattle Seahawks fan and you're getting ready to go to the game at Lumen Field, if you're ready to fight the I-5 traffic and you're trying to go, and this is on your mind right now, it seems inevitable. The San Francisco 49ers seem inevitable this year with all the injuries. George Kittle tearing his Achilles last week. course, no Bosa, no Pearsall, no Warner, no Ayuk. There's a lot of crazy things happening with the San Francisco 49ers, but it doesn't seem to matter. They are the definition of next man up.
Yeah,
and
they are.
They find a way to win football games. Would it be wrong to say that despite all the injuries, the San Francisco 49ers should most likely win this game because history tends to repeat themselves with Kyle Shanahan getting that team to the NFC Championship game?
That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like it doesn't really. I mean, there could be a world where they have 5 guys out there on offense and maybe 6 on defense, and they still find a way to win this game because it's not yet the conference championship game. This one feels inevitable. We haven't really talked too much about the Seahawks. We will in a second. But as far as the 49ers go, yeah, there are question marks with the roster. There are question marks with the injury side of things. You still have Brock Purdy running the ship, which is always a good thing. I think we've learned that by now. You still have guys like Christian McCaffrey, to my knowledge, at least, unless I am completely off on that.
No, he's there.
So that's a good step in the right direction. And you've got, Kyle Shanahan, which is one of the best head coaches right now in the NFL. So seems like they have all the pieces. They got the dynasty aspect or destiny, aspect to them as well. This feels like it's which is crazy to say, it's the 49ers game to lose. Like they have to completely screw this up to give this one over to the Seahawks. But boy, are the Seahawks going to really give them a good fight. This is a good team.
Well, the final game of the season, the Seahawks won to clinch number 1 seed. Let's not forget that. This is a game that, Sam Darnold said after the game, looked at Brock Purdy, said, see in a few weeks. They expected this game to happen again for the 3rd time this season. This is the rubber match. The Seahawks lost the game, the first game of the season, and they won in the final game of the season to clinch the number 1 seed. They won 13-3. Sam Darnold wasn't amazing. 198 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Their running game was impressive. Seahawks running game was impressive. And that's something over the last couple of weeks has really stood out for Seattle. Now, of course, just like we asked in the Denver game, what does that 1 week bye week rust do for a running game? Something who I think was starting to gain a lot of momentum. Does momentum stall when it comes to playing a team like San Francisco for the 3rd time in a season? Of course, JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, has been one of the best wide receivers in football this year, named to the All-Pro team. Cooper Kupp, obviously looking to try and get himself back to the Super Bowl. You can make the assumption it might be his last year. This is going to be a really fun game. I don't think we should definitely count out the Seahawks by any stretch of the imagination. It definitely does seem inevitable that San Francisco is going to find themselves a way into this game. I would not be shocked if this is the closest game of the weekend. ESPN Analytics actually have Seahawks as a good favorite, to be completely honest. It's a lot closer than, or a lot farther away than I expected. It's, I think it's a 60-40 for Seahawks.
Goodness gracious.
I think Seattle can win this game because I think they are the better team. And if you want to talk about on paper, and you've got to bring up the injuries, you have to. You can't avoid them. Seattle is the better team. And I think they proved in the last game of the season that they can slow down Brock Purdy. They can slow down Christian McCaffrey. They only held Christian McCaffrey to 23 yards in that game to end the regular season. They only held Brock Purdy to 127 yards passing, and he threw a pick. Brock Purdy's had his way against the Seahawks other than that final game of the season. I think that was his first turnover against the Seahawks, at least this season. So, count me in to make this maybe be the best game of the weekend, at least when it comes to closest scores. But I think Seattle runs away with this one. Runaway is the wrong word. I think Seattle squeaks by.
Interesting. This is going to be one of the best games for sure. And it's absolutely I don't know if those words are, the best to use together, but it's partially because this is the NFC West. And these games just all season long have been incredible. Another point that I'd like to point out in the 49ers' favor here, when we're looking at the defense and how good the Seahawks have been, and I want to be very clear, I'm not like the 49ers are going to win this game by a ton. I do kind of lean towards the Seahawks here. They're incredible. Like, they just are a very, very good team. They have some weak spots, though. And on the defensive side of the ball, a comparison that I saw on the internet was the Texans versus the Seahawks. 2 very good defenses, but the Seahawks are very much like, we're going to run the right scheme. We're going to deceive you in this way or the other. And then the Texans line them up. Like, we're just going to go. We're going to run through your face and destroy you. And the Texans, that kind of defense is a lot harder to stop because it's not really about understanding a scheme. It's more about literally just stopping a human being that is out of control. For the Seahawks, the 49ers can potentially scheme around that, make some adjustments to how they run their offense. It reminds me of like UMBC versus Virginia. Virginia was very good, but in a few technical ways that UMBC was able to identify and exploit, as opposed to, just some high-flowing, 65% shooting offense or whatever, if you want to continue the analogy. So I do think the Seahawks are going to put up a really, really good fight in this one. I think they're going to have this, it could become a game where it's who has the ball last, but don't count the 49ers out. For one, the playoff destiny side of this, I think, is very real. But for two, they are, highly talented players, and they're going up against a Seahawks team that I think is schemable. Some teams are not really schemable. You just need to be better. I think the Seahawks team you could scheme against, and they can win the game that way.
I think injuries are going to finally catch up to San Francisco. They have to eventually. I think it finally happens.
Man, it's not the conference championship game yet.
Right, you're right. I'm leaning towards Seahawks here, and I'm going to say this. I think the X factor of this game is not Brock Purdy. It's not CMC. It's not JSN. It's not Sam Darnold. Rashid Shaheed is going to be the X factor in this football game. Maybe a special teams win, man. Maybe a deep ball. That's what I'm going with here. I think that this game is close. Maybe even another close, like 13-3 game like we had at the end of the regular season. I think a little more high scoring, though. And I think the X factor is a guy like maybe Shaheed. That's where I'm going for Seahawks to win this game and get to the NFC Championship game. I think if we get those two games on Saturday, man, we are set up. There's a chance that we could have, potentially, two teams from the AFC East against two teams from the NFC West battling on Championship Sunday.
We really could. It's just been one of those kinds of years. It's insane.
I don't know the last time that's happened, if you've had two division battles to go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if that's ever happened.
We'd have to do the research if that were to come up, because that would be a great question.
Yeah, that would absolutely be interesting for sure. Let's keep talking here. Let's do a little college football talk here. This grinds my gears. I do not like this at all. It's been reported on Tuesday there was a AFCA coaches meeting, and they had their meetings where they discussed things about, scheduling, eligibility, just everything under the sun. They meet, all the coaches meet, the FBS's coaches, and they kind of get all their narratives correct so they can propose the right things to the NCAA for the offseason to make the season hopefully better for the future, for athletics, for kids, whatever the case may be. This one's interesting to me. One that came up was the redshirt rule. Now, for context, if you don't know what the redshirt rule is, if you are, let's just say if you're a freshman, you're an incoming freshman, and you don't have to be a freshman, but it's most likely normally when it happens. You can play 4 games of the season, 4 of the 12 games of the season, and you can still put on what's called a red shirt, and that year does not count against you for eligibility, meaning that you can play basically 4.5 years of college football. That's basically what that means. Well, in this case, 4 1/3 year with the 4 games out of the 12. Now they want to change it. They want to change the rule for the red shirt, and immediately you think, okay, well, 4 1/3, maybe they change it to 4.5. Maybe they want to move it up to 6 games. No. They want to move the red shirt rule to 9 games. 9 out of the 12 games on the season, they want to make it a red shirt rule. Now, here's my stance. I don't hate the fact that they are allowing a player to play more football games. This is my stance. What I don't get is, why are we trying to make this so dang complicated? Why are you trying to say, hey, over a 5-year collegiate career, because that's basically what happens when you redshirt, you can play 4 2/3 of a year of college football, but at the end of the year, you're going to have, of your first year, if you're at 9, well, you might have to sit for a little bit. Why don't we just do 5 years for 5 years? That's it. 5 for 5. Why don't we just do that? Call it a day. I feel like you solve so many problems if you go that way. I think the only exceptions would be medical waivers. Other than that, you've solved so many problems of all these. Are he staying? Will he get a waiver? Will he be able to play next year? You got to find a way to fix this.
The argument that Swinney had, because this was a massive meeting, like you said, Davo Swinney was involved, was that this is designed to keep players more engaged and de-incentivize mid-year opt-outs, which I suppose I can see, but that doesn't mean that this is a good option. I think it really just becomes exactly what you said. let's make it 5 years where like you can play for 5 years. That's it. There is no red shirts, in, out, crap. Just you get 5 years. Like you get 5 years of eligibility. And it's as simple as that. And it would make it a lot easier on me too, because right now I'm seeing
mid-year opt-outs would end if you had 5 for 5, because you would lose a year. If you decide in the middle of the year to opt out, that still counts as a year, regardless.
It doesn't matter. Exactly. The medical side of it is the interesting side. Obviously, it's not really fair if a guy first game tears his ACL, that counts as your year. I'm not saying that's how that should be handled, but I don't like this 9 situation either. I don't think that this is a positive change. Like it feels like all of the changes that are being made are either lateral or negative. I haven't really heard of a lot of changes in college football that have been like, that is a good change. Maybe a few here and there that are blanking on me right now. But my goodness, this just feels like either completely lateral, which it would be hard to do, or in my opinion, negative. I don't see any positives to this. Why not just make it a full year of eligibility no matter what?
Yeah, it feels like you're taking 2 steps back to hopefully get 1 step forward. There's no momentum here when it comes to trying to figure out this. I just think the 5 for 5 makes sense. If you're trying to get people to stay around and be motivated during the middle of the season, well, the best way is saying you lose eligibility. If you're worried about somebody playing 4 games and then saying I'm done because they want to hold on to 1 year, well, then make that year count regardless. And yeah, you're right. Medical waivers should be the only thing that be discussed in this one. And I think you take each of them by a case-by-case basis. That's the only way you can talk about that. All of them go to the board. You make a governing body, whether that's the NCAA or something else, because we know that the NCAA is an absolute dumpster fire. And then you move on. To me, that just solves a lot of problems. And maybe this 4 to 9 thing is helping them get into the right direction. Maybe that's helping them push for 5 for 5 because they're getting even closer. Maybe this is the coaches saying, look, we don't know if we can get the support for 5 for 5 right off the bat, but we think we can get this support. Let's get here this year. And then next year we'll push. Well, you know what? We're already at 9. We might as well just go to 5. Maybe that's the direction. And if so, I'm all for it. I think there's a lot of things that I have heard over the last year, 2 years, when it's come to changing things about the roster size, moving the college football to 105. When we talk about the redshirt rules, when we talk about the super seniors with COVID, the eligibility, talking about how high school recruits have had the short end of the stick over the last 5 years because of all these players playing 8 years in college football. It seems like we get all of these opinions and all of these rule regulations from the NCAA, but we never hear the opinion of the coaches, the ones who are actually digging in and actually dealing with this on the forefront. When it comes to the roster 105 size, that came from the settlement. That came from the NCAA revenue settlement, that whole thing. It never came from the coaches saying it. You could ask almost every single one of those FBS coaches, and they'll tell you how much they hated the fact they had to cut players to 105 this past season because they were assuming that was going to happen. And then 2 weeks before the season started, they said, you know what, we're going to be a little lenient on 105. And then those players that were already cut either had new homes or decided not to return. There are certain coaches in college football that retired because of that. Chris Kleiman of Kansas State, one of them. That is insane. Absolutely insane. The fact that we need to hear more from these coaches. And if that means listening to an egregious change in this rule with the red shirt moving from 4 games to 9 games, if that's the right direction, then maybe I can support it. But ultimately, we have to end up at a very more realistic thing with 5 for 5. I think that just makes way too much sense.
It's actually a good point you make there. And it might be a step in the right direction because sometimes moves don't make sense on the surface and they end up leading to something down the road that does make a lot more sense. And you're right. The coaches are the ones that are on the front lines every day dealing with basically the mess that the NCAA and the committees all over the place, because that's really, I guess, how you run college football now is just by committees have made, and they have to deal with it. And they're constantly, the best part of the year, in my opinion, is the media days for each conference. You got SEC media days, Big 10 media days, Big 12 media days, and all these questions are thrown at these coaches, and all of them are like, I don't even know what the rules are, man. We're just literally trying to get through every single day because tomorrow this is going to be allowed, the next day it's not, and then we're going to have a major rule shift next week. So we're just trying to do the best we can. And I'm sure that there is some stuff that's not really being talked about, but for the most part, these coaches are the ones that are, you're exactly right, just dealing with what is put in front of them, trying to make the best of it. And they're also pretty much constantly on the hot seat, trying to provide, wins for their school. And like the system is totally screwing them over. So yeah, you make a good point there. Maybe we should listen to them. But at the end of the day, there's so much wrong with college football that it's hard to really nail down one thing and be like, this is what we can't have this. Well, there's like 10 things like that. So you got to pick one. And is this the one that you want to die on, the hill you want to die on here? Maybe for some people, yeah. But the argument that, it's just going to avoid midseason opt-outs, I actually think it's going to hurt teams. I think it's going to create longer, you could play 8 games and then you sit, as opposed to playing 4. How does the whole team react to that later in the season? Once you've got some momentum, you're building up towards the end of the year. I don't know. I don't feel like this is the right thing. I'm going to be completely honest with you, but you might be right. Maybe this is a step towards something bigger. I don't know.
Are you a guy that drinks like milk and sugar in his coffee? You a black coffee kind of guy? What's your go-to here?
Actually, I've got it right here. You can see how dark it is in there. It's completely black.
Oh, like your soul. Nice. Noted. Okay. So good to hear. Good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah.
What does that have to do with anything? Where did that even come from?
Nothing at all. Does it have to have anything to do with anything?
No, that's totally fine. And I accept it. I love the taste of black coffee. I think it's just really bitter, really punches you right in the face every morning. Here at Marv and Rauh in the morning gets me ready, jazzed up. Oh my goodness.
You said, but
we're gonna move on. With the spread wide 2 bananas and yeah, this is.
Hey, buddy, take another sip of that coffee while take another sip of that coffee while I intro this next segment here.
God.
There's been talks. Wow, bud. Good for you.
I don't know, man. Yeah,
it's all right.
You did this.
Okay.
You did this to me. Just so we're clear.
Right. Okay. Hey, look, there's going to be discussions, I think, over the next decade or so, because there has been discussions in the past, like what is the worst trade ever? You can talk about the NFL. You can talk about the worst trades ever. One of them comes to mind right off the bat is the good old trade with the Cowboys back in the 90s or the 80s trade where you've made a ton of movement where, you brought in like Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, and Larry Allen. All those guys came in because of the trade, all the draft picks, the Herschel Walker trade. Or in this case, I think the Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic trade might go down as the world's worst trade ever. And Nico Harrison, obviously, it's insane that he still has a job, for one. That's insane. But the Los Angeles Lakers, the Lakers obviously traded Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic. There was a couple other pieces involved as well. But now Anthony Davis, again, has a hand injury. He's out. He's hurt. He will not require surgery on his injured hand. He went to Los Angeles to get an opinion on it. But the biggest thing that I have here is like Anthony Davis. I don't know if we assumed that this was going to be like a 1-for-1 clearly good trade anyways when it actually happened. But like, it's been so bad. 19 meaningless games Anthony Davis has played for the Mavs since the Luka Doncic trade. That is it. If you want to even put it more deeper into perspective, Kyrie Irving with Anthony Davis, the two guys other than Cooper Flagg, obviously trying to hold this franchise together, they have played a total of 25 minutes together on the court.
Oh, wow.
As Dallas Mavericks. Are we talking about the worst trade in history? Because there's also talks that now Anthony Davis will be looked at being traded again and moving on. The direction that Dallas is trying to go, because they're not having a great season, they are playing like they just picked number 1 in the draft last year for good reason. They want to build around Cooper Flagg, which is the right move. They got to move Anthony Davis to make that happen, but he keeps getting hurt. What team wants him? But apparently there are some few that are willing to be that crazy.
Yeah, it sounds, to my understanding, Nico Harrison is no longer the GM of the Mavericks, and that's, I think, probably for the better. This is absolutely, bar none, the worst trade of all time, in my opinion.
He was fired. What am I thinking? Yeah, he was fired in November. I don't know why I missed that.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's totally good. We got it all cleaned up. So, no, I think that that was necessary, just so we're clear. And this is, if you ask any Maverick fan, I think the worst trade of all time. I think if you ask a lot of Lakers fans, they'd probably say there's nothing wrong with that trade. What's the problem? It seems completely fine to me. But as far as how's Anthony Davis working out for this Mavericks team and what's the future look like, I think you have to understand you're not building around Anthony Davis. You're just not. And you have to understand too that when a trade is this bad, when it is so bad that the entire world thinks that it's NBA Centel posting it, like it's not like a legitimate tweet. Everyone was like, "Wait, this is not real, right? This is not legit." You can't assume that you're going to be able to build off of that trade. I mean, that's like when I give you my entire bench for your starter in fantasy football. Are you going to build your entire team around that bench, or did you just get swindled? You just got swindled and you got to move on. If you're the Mavericks here, you can't really build off of this whole Anthony Davis situation. You have, the maybe one of the next best players in the NBA in Cooper Flag, and you have to just go around that. You might have to scrap the team that you have right now and maybe not see success for 2-3 years. But like, you can't hold on to this trade and just hope and hope and pray that this is going to work out. You have to move on and just completely reset and use what you have in front of you, because as much as it probably sucks to hear, this was just terrible. This did not help the Mavs at all. And holding on is only going to hurt you even more.
Yeah, this is a big deal now. Obviously, there's a trade deadline February 5th for the NBA, so they're a month away. Anthony Davis is not going to get surgery on his left hand, but he's expected to be out for 6 weeks or maybe even up to 8 weeks in some reports that have been going here. This is a guy that you would assume that would be able to come back for a playoff run, but when you're talking about teams that are looking to maybe build around him or at least have him as a key player, you have to be willing to make that trade before he's able to come back and still get yourself ready to go for a playoff run and wait for him to happen. There's going to be some teams that are looking for Anthony Davis. And of course, if that's the move they make, that's a good move for Dallas eventually. I think that they have to cut their losses eventually and build around Dallas. Dallas is currently 15-25. They're currently 2.5 games out of the play-in game as a 10 seed. You hope they don't make it. You hope that they want to put themselves in the lottery and try and get themselves the highest pick as possible to build around Cooper Flag. Apparently, especially if they get some more picks and more capital in an Anthony Davis trade. Overall, I just don't get it. I just don't get. And then this is the reason why Nico was fired. I completely missed that at the beginning of the show. Of course he was fired. The fact that he was canned, it was such a mistake. It was such a mistake. And now you're seeing the Lakers with obviously, LeBron James in his 23rd season, still finding a way to be in playoff contention in the toughest conference in basketball. The Western Conference is so tough with Oklahoma City, with San Antonio, with Denver, Minnesota, Houston, all those teams. I mean, even Phoenix and Golden State have the chance to be like dark horse upset type teams. Los Angeles right in the middle of that. And it's because of guys like Luka Doncic who's holding it together. And I mean, Luka fits in LA. Now you have to make it wonder, like, okay, how do you build around Cooper Flag to get Dallas back in that mix? Because right now, Dallas is one of those, with the exception of maybe New Orleans and Sacramento, Dallas is probably seen as the laughing stock in the Western Conference.
Well, Dallas Mavericks are seen as the laughing stock in athletics, in pro sports after that trade. All over what? A beer? Like, is that really what it came down to?
Because he was overweight, right? They thought he was gonna go down.
It's like, oh man, that is a terrible reason to trade away. And then Nico's like, I knew he was important. I didn't know he was that important. Like, did you have eyes or ever use your head? I don't like that. It was the most obvious thing of all time. And like, for anyone who's not even super into sports, someone who's just kind of aware of the sports sphere, I think even they would understand, like, yeah, there's guys like LeBron is with the Lakers and Luka's with the Mavs and Steph's with the Warriors. Like, yeah, he was that guy. So the why behind it was just mind-boggling. It didn't make any sense. And that's exactly to my point of, if you are the Dallas Mavericks, you just got to move on, man. You just can't hold on any longer. It's over. It was a terrible trade and it didn't work out. Like, that sucks, but holding on is only going to cause more pain. So I think you have to just, if you work your way to the ground really, really slowly, you're not going to bounce back. I feel like you just kind of find yourself at the bottom of the conference. If you just let go and you become a bouncy ball, bounce off the bottom of the standings, you can get back up there. Just don't overplay your hand here. It's only going to hurt you.
Do you know who is the leading scorer in the NBA right now?
No, I don't.
Luka Doncic, 33.4 points per
wow.
game. And he's on pace to have his best career season ever. In 2023 to 24, he averaged 33.9 points per game. He's currently 33.4. It's currently his second best season ever. If the season ended today, this is his first full season as a Los Angeles Laker. He is obviously 26 years old. Some people thought, the people that traded him, that of course, that even though he's been in the league for almost 10 years now, that he was declining. Well, that's not the case. This is his seventh season in the NBA, and he is on pace to potentially have his best season in his career. And then on the mean side, the Dallas Mavericks. Look, you have Cooper Flagg. That's exciting because he is exciting. And the expectations for Cooper Flagg were completely unfair. The fact that it's finally coming down to earth and like getting a little bit better. And I think with one more draft, with all the other players coming in the draft this year, I think that'll help the Cooper Flagg like expectations kind of go back to normal. It's not like he's having a bad year. It's just the expectations were outrageous for him coming out of Duke. If you can build around him the right way, give him a young core, what Oklahoma City, what San Antonio have done, I think you can get Dallas back up into this conversation a lot faster than if you stick around with Anthony Davis. If you stick around with Kyrie Irving, you got to make those moves. I think you have to make them before February 5th, no matter what the cost. I think you just have to cut your losses regardless there, even if it's a low-balling offer for a guy like Anthony Davis. Just finish it. Just end it.
Yeah, just end the story, move on. Teams have come back from worse. You can just keep rolling in the next 3-4. And we've had a lot of conversations of like, this is a long-term play, 3-4 years. The Mavs are the best example of that. Like you got to move on. It's not going to be pretty right away, but get out of here.
You want to have some fun conversations to end this show today? I think we should. We should have a fun conversation to end this show
I'm
today.
down.
Look, I think this channel's just starting.
Yeah.
I think we should get into golf. I'm excited to get into golf, and this is what a perfect time to do so because the season's just starting. 2026 PGA Tour begins this weekend, the Sony Open in Hawaii. And look, I think this is a good way for us to get into this. So I think we should give the folks the most casual preview we possibly can. All vibes on all vibes here for the Sony Open. And then we'll give you some golf content throughout the week during the seasons. We're going to try and give you a preview on Wednesdays and some sort of a recap kind of conversation on Mondays every week here on Marv and Rauh in the morning. But today, I think we should just go all vibes. What do you think about that?
I like it. That is exactly what I like to hear. Let's do it.
Well, the Sony Open is the first one of the season, 2026. This is what I've seen from things. Obviously, we've had some past winners like Henley. There's Matsuyama. There's Morikawa. There's Jordan Spieth. It's a loaded lineup that I've noticed here. But in Hawaii, this is a fun way to start the PGA season off. There's been a couple other storylines about, like, of course, what will Scottie Scheffler do in PGA this year? He's not going to play till next week. There's Brooks Koepka coming back from Live Golf. He's going to come back and play next week as well. So this is almost like huge. This is kind of like, although it's going to count for money, although it's a pretty big purse. I think I saw the purse is like $9 million, which is insane. Imagine golfing and then be like, hey, if you win, you get one of those cool checks that Happy Gilmore got to hold. You get $9 million. Right? Even if you finish last place, if you finish last place, you get one of those big checks like Happy Gilmore.
I'm missing 3-foot putts for literally no money, so I don't even want to know what that would look like.
Yeah, it's insane, right? There's going to be a 120 player field to open up the season, but it does still feel almost like a preseason game because some of the big guys are out. But there are 4 top 10 ranked golfers in the world: and Russell Henley, JJ Spawn, Robert McIntyre, and Ben Griffin. Which is exciting stuff. I'm really excited to check this one out in Hawaii. I will not be there, but I will be watching. Noon Eastern is when it kicks off on Thursday. You can find it on ESPN Plus. All right. Any players that stick out to you? Are there any players like initially? Because we're big live on TV on Marv and Rauh in the morning. You and I are going to become golf fans in front of everybody. We're going to really get into it. Is there any player that like really has stuck out to you over the last couple of years, like just from highlights? I know you're not going to. We're going to become golf sickos here, though.
Right. Obviously the easy one is Scottie Scheffler. Like everybody knows, Scottie Scheffler has just been insane. Brooks Koepka, and then, gosh, what was the rivalry him and was it been like 2020, 2021, 22, somewhere in that range. I cannot remember who it was. Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau. That's what it was. Yeah, that one was a fun one.
He's with Live Golf still, so he's not coming back. But yeah,
but some of the storylines around golf, they've been pretty electric. I'm always been a big Jordan Spieth guy. It's just like I know people who know people who know people who know him or whatever. So like, I'll root for him. Obviously Tiger, what they're doing with the Pro Golf League or whatever that is, TGL. It's fun to see him playing out there in his Sunday red. So no names that I'm specifically looking forward to. I will say, like, I'm kind of keeping my options open right now as far as who I'm rooting for. But there are some names that I am familiar with: Matsuyama, Morikawa, a couple of more names that I am, familiar with, fans of, and I'm excited. I did not know. I have to say, full transparency with all of our listeners, that you were like, we're going to get into golf this year. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, we've got probably 2-3 months here. I mean, I know the Masters is usually right around Easter, give or take. So what is that, like April? It's January. We got plenty of time. It's here. It is right here. And this is what a great place to start the season, obviously over in Hawaii. But it just kind of snuck up on us, right? Like just popped out of nowhere. And so yeah, we're learning right here with you live as we do this every single week, more and more about golf. And if you have any opinions or thoughts, like drop them down below. We are absolutely noobs to covering golf. We're just going to do it because, who doesn't love golf?
Yeah, I want to add more sports to this channel, and what a better way to do it than just like literally strictly just straight up say like, hey, look, we have no idea really what we're doing here on this one, but I want to learn more. Nick Taylor won it last year, the Sony Open in Hawaii. Speaking of players that you mentioned, Colin Morikawa, you brought his name up. I've really liked watching him over the past.
Yes.
Big Justin Thomas fan. I really liked watching him in the past as well. So I'm excited to see some of these other new players that I've just really dug into. I plan on having this up on my TV all weekend long. At least one of my screens. Probably the volume will probably turn off an NFL playoff start. I'll be completely honest, but I'll definitely be watching the highlights. There's a lot of things. I think golf is all weekend long, right? So it's like it's one of those things where you got to learn. Not only you have to learn how to love golf, you have to learn how to cover it and watch the highlights, and it's hours of coverage. How are we going to be able to get all that in? So I'm excited for that. So if you have tips, let us know in the comments below as well, because I think tips are very important how to get that one. But you're right, man. This season is crazy long. Sony Open starts January 15th, goes throughout the weekend, and then you have stuff all the way through. They got the Players in March. You got the Masters in April. It's a very fun schedule. I'm excited to see what happens in this one. Overall, the biggest thing that I want to take from this is that we're going to give you coverage here. We're going to give you, this will probably be the most casual possibility when it comes to this one here, but it's still going to be really fun. I'm excited to dig into.
I think it's going to be like, we might come into a college football preview. We've got hot takes or at least passionate takes, right? You go into NFL and you've got a real strong opinion. Golf is
dudes talking golf, just dudes.
Golf, we're just like celebrating the sport. We're just talking about what happened. We're having some fun. It'll be a little bit more chill section, is my guess.
Yeah, I think so too. This is going to be dudes talking golf. I'm excited for that one as well. It should be really fun. I'm excited to see 120 players take off here. See who picks up VJ Singh. Have you heard that name before? I know you're a little younger than me. Have you ever heard the name VJ Singh?
I haven't, but that is an A+ name.
62 years old. He's a player that played back in like prime Tiger days. Gotcha. Like 2004 VJ Singh. Like I used to watch golf on TV. Like it was like Sunday golf was a thing. You'd watch it before NFL. Like it would be the thing. Yeah. So he's 62 years old. He's rejoined the PGA Tour on a career exemption, basically saying like, hey, I'm such a popular name. There's some sort of rule saying because he's had so many tour appearances, so many wins, that he can come back and be on the tour. He's rejoining at 62. He will be in the lineup. He'll be one of the 120 at the Sony Open. It's awesome. Exciting. I wonder how good he does, because I think they're the senior league. If I remember, you have to be 50 to enter the senior league. He's going to be entering the PGA, the Pro League, at 62. So I wonder if he can run with the big boys still. If you can imagine VJ Singh at 62 years old finishing a top 10, that might be something fun to talk about in the near future.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone here has been out on the course, but every so often you come up behind that group of old dudes and you're like, gosh, we're going to be stuck here forever. And then they just rip one off the tee box. And you're like, what was that? So there's a chance Vijay Singh could come in and make some noise. You never know.
Could be a fun one. Yeah. The winner last year, Nick Taylor, finished with a -16 to finish the weekend. So we'll see if that's something that happens in this weekend around. So Thursday begins this one. Again, noon Eastern is when it starts off. And of course it ends on Sunday. And we'll have a recap on Monday where we actually dig into it and actually give you some good insight, because we'll finally watch some golf for the first time. And I mean, it's like actually digging in and knowing that I'm going to create content for it. It's probably been ever. It's probably the first time ever I'm doing that.
Are you much of a golfer? You get out on the course very often?
I'll try and go at least once or twice a year. I'm going to be honest with you. That's the best I try.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of
having a little one changes things, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been out there, probably I would say between 4 and 7 or 8 times a year for the last few years. And last year I decided, you know what? That's a totally fair amount of times to go for me to justify buying a new golf bag. So my goal this year is to get out on the actual course and use my golf bag more times. And I think getting into this will actually help with that too. So I'm excited.
Love that. Let us know your thoughts about the Sony Open in the comment description below. All that good stuff. I'm really excited to hear what you think about our obviously immaculate golf coverage that we're going to give you at Marv and Rauh in the morning. Let's get on out of here. Enjoy your Wednesday. We got a fun episode for you tomorrow. We got a fun episode for you to end out the week. We got college football playoff, national championship, NFL playoff previews still to come. We still have so many more storylines and conversations to have, because it just never ends. And sometimes these hours are just not enough. As you can see, we're at 1 hour and 7 minutes. Thank you for the 75 people watching live, whether you're on social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you're listening. Really appreciate that. And until then, we'll see you back here tomorrow, right here on Marv and Rauh in the morning.